all really well, and I'm just checking that everything's working. We'll see in a minute, and then we'll start having a chat, and hopefully you guys are up, you're sipping your tea, and ready to tolerate me. That rhymes. That rhymes. I hope you're all good. I just want to share with you, I don't normally talk about money because I find it a little bit crass. But one of the challenges in the world I work is there's lots of like people who just talk about the money. So I wanted to talk about the money today. Little bit unusual, little bit uncomfortable for me because I think it sounds a little bit crass, but sod it, I'm doing it anyway. So good morning, wherever you're joining. I want to talk about this question that has been asked of me, but I've never talked about it properly because being British, we don't talk about money. But and I'm not being prejudicial, the Americanization of the world has disarmed a lot of people to talking about money. So I'm going to talk about money today. So wherever you're joining, do say hello in the chat. I can see David's here and Mike's here. Mike, do you know why I'm late? My office has a window out towards just about, I can see the river, and I can see a bit of the moors, Dartmoor, I think it is. I don't know which one it is. Tell I spend a lot of time going around here. And this morning, as I was going to go live, the sun came up and literally was here. So it wiped out my camera. So I waited just till the sun went up before I started. Right. So I did a survey. I am going to talk about this 10K, 20K thing. I did a survey about 4 or 5 months ago, and I used this survey a lot to help my own thinking. And hands down, there was 2 things that people said, and it was anonymous. There was 2 things that people said: I want more clients and I want to make more money. So I took that, and I struggle talking about money because ultimately it just feels uncomfortable. But everybody wants to make more money. So we might as well just be honest about it. So everybody wants to make more money. So somebody asked me, how do you make 10 to 20K a month? But they caveated it with, I'm a solopreneur, number 1. Number 2, I don't want to do ads. And number 3, I don't want a sales pitch. And in that survey, one of the top answers, there was get clients, make more money. And one of the other answers is less selling. So less selling. And that seems to be a common thread. People don't want to do the pushy selling thing. So can you do it? Well, the answer is yes, you can. Now, I'll just caveat this. I'm not saying you can't do the more proactive selling position, but a lot of people don't want to. In fact, we teach a lot of big companies how to do that through social media. But in our small business world, a lot of the people we talk to don't want to do the pushy sales piece. So there's really and I was talking to our accelerator members about this in a bit more depth than we're doing today, this morning, about the kind of 4 components that you need. And I'll tell you what each 4 component is, but before the final component is a system, a repeatable process. Yeah. And I used the analogy of yesterday of a Rolls Royce, and this is important for small business owners and solopreneurs. If you want to make, I don't know, 10,000 cars, there's a process you have to go through and a level of resource you have to go through to make 10,000 cars. Now, if you're making 100,000 cars in this factory, this system that works, it's a completely different process. And I use the analogy of Rolls-Royce don't sell 100,000 cars a year because every car is handmade. There's a process involved. And so if Rolls-Royce wanted to sell 100 or 200,000 cars a year or 1 million cars a year, it would be a completely different process, and it would be a mammoth change to their business model. So if you're a solopreneur, and David's here, sells only by networking, Shine's here, Mike. So if you're a solopreneur, you've got to have a process that works and works and works. And if you don't have a routine, a system, it comes apart. Now, here's the bit, before I get into the other bits, here's the bit that goes a bit awry. What happens is people want a system with less selling, but what they're constantly doing is changing which machinery and which system they're going to use. I've seen this so many times. They see somebody say, oh, you should do it this way. Oh, you should do it this way. And what happens is they never perfect a process. Now, I'm not saying you'll have a perfect process, but they never perfect a process. So I've seen people doing cold outreach and then they shift to ads, then they shift to something else, then they shift to something else, then they shift to content, then they shift to influencer marketing, then they shift to this different DM technique. And what happens is nothing is ever perfected. And I don't mean perfection as in 100% conversion, because that's impossible. But I mean, most systems, let's just be honest, most systems, when you first use them, don't work. They don't work. You have to work the system and go, where's it failing? Tweak it, tweak it, tweak it, tweak it, tweak it. But most people won't do that work. So what happens is they look for another silver bullet. They look for another shiny object. They buy another course or another thing and end up making lots of different systems that never get perfected. And I've met some people who have spent, I'm not kidding, hundreds of thousands of pounds trying to buy a system. And I look and go, but you've got about 100 different systems already, and none of them you've committed to and decided, I'm going to make this process, this system work for me. David Perry's put it aptly there. Consistency is key. If you don't know, if every system will have points of failure, you know, if you look at SpaceX, right? They want to go to the moon, they want to go to Mars. They didn't keep building different types of rockets. They didn't keep like darting round. What they did is said, this is what we want to achieve. How's the best way to go about it? They spent time working on it, and they've perfected the process to the point where now they can send stuff up to space safely, but they perfected a process, one process. So this is the big thing that's wrong. The other thing that's wrong for people struggling to do this, and then I'll come to the other bits, is, and please do say hello if you're watching. I know it's early. The other thing that's wrong as well is everything's focused on the system. The system is actually the easiest bit of the process. I know some people find that daunting, but let me explain why. For a system to work, it has raw materials. For a factory to work, it has raw materials going in. And then the machinery uses those raw materials and the manpower to output a product. Yeah. In our scenario, we're trying to use social media to make 10 to 20 grand a month. Then, okay, there's a system, but it's only as good as the inputs and the actions. And any system will fail with the wrong inputs and the wrong actions. So the actions are easier to fix because you can template them. And that's what I do in the accelerator with our team. I give them templates, and then they can implement the template, and then they can perfect it in field testing, as we call it. Build the plane, Mars flying it. In other words, you put it out there, see if it works, tweak it, tweak it, tweak it, tweak it. Best way to perfect a system is with real human beings, because real human beings are real results. So it's the inputs. So what are the inputs? Well, the inputs are, what is it you're selling? And by that, I mean the offer. And I hate the word offer, but it's not just I'm selling coaching services, or I'm selling, IT consultancy, or social media marketing, or marketing consultancy. That's not what you're selling. The offer is who you are, the pains and challenges that this product or service is going to fix, the goals it's going to help them achieve, the time frame. It's a whole package of things. In other words, when somebody's considering what you're selling, the physical service you're selling, there's a whole host of things in the mix. Do I trust this person? Do I resonate with the pain that this offers about? Do I believe in the results it can bring? All of that is what I class as your offer, because it is, when the client's weighing it up, they're weighing up your offer, which is not just the merits of the proposal, it's all the things around it. So that's the first thing, the offer going into the system. Does the offer go into the system? Does it work? I.e., if you start presenting your product or service very analytically, there'll be no emotion involved, and people make decisions emotionally, even in B2B. If people are and have no pain, no frustration, no challenge, no difficulty, no goals, no passion for something, you're going to have a struggle to sell something. There has to be some emotion involved. So it's not just an analytical decision of this, oh, I'll do it. It's not like that at all. There's a whole host of trust and relatability and belief, not just trust, belief, that has to be established as part of the offer. So then there's the audience. Does the audience that you're choosing to go after and that offer align up? And if they don't, they should. So you might have an audience, an offer. Great. Let's bolt those together. Let's make sure that the offer fits the audience, where they're at, the level of decision making, even down to the pricing, by the way, finding the right sweet spot for the pricing. Do you need which channel are the audience on? Is it LinkedIn? Is it TikTok? Is it Facebook? Where are they? So understanding the audience. Then we come to the message, your message to the world. So this is really important, because pretty much every system will go, we need to build a crowd and take them to clients. Every system is crowd to client, crowd to client. Every system in the world. Yeah. Somebody doesn't know us. Now they're paying us as a customer. That's the system, crowd to client. So the message has to, first of all, be relevant for the audience and lead to your offer. In other words, if I go on social media, if I'm on here today talking about donkeys, yeah, and I'm talking about how brilliant donkeys are, doesn't help my offer. That's not my message. My message is, you can build a crowd and convert them into paying clients. And are you ready to start doing it with as least selling as possible? That's what I teach people and help people do. So there is a crowd to client process. Whatever other people call it, there's a crowd to client process. That's the system. But the message helps you build content. It helps you write that offer. It helps you build your website, that message to the world. And you have to think, like, I was brought up in a very religious home. So please say hello in the chat, by the way. But I was brought up in a very religious home, kind of very, very strict religious home. Callum, I'll answer your question in one sec. I was brought up in a very strict religious home. So a lot of my analogies very often rely on religious reference. So apologies if that offends, but it's where I've come from. So your message to the world is basically your religion, yeah, your beliefs. And you are telling the world, because you believe in something, your cause is, I know if you're struggling with getting business and growing your business, I know I can help you, and I'm going to give you as much value as I can because I believe in it. That's your message to the world. Now, Callum's asked a question here about how best to build a crowd. Now, I would consider your crowd, it doesn't have to be big if it's the right crowd. And this is another thing. People chase big audiences. And of course, big audiences is fantastic. But people chase big audiences because they think with numbers comes success. I'll tell you now, I had a prickly conversation with somebody who had 1.5 million followers on LinkedIn. And I caught them cold messaging people who'd signed up for our events on LinkedIn. And I said, why are you pitching? Why are you scraping our event and pitching? And they were launched a tirade at me. And I said, but why are you doing it? You're telling people that if you do all of this stuff that you're teaching, you'll get business. But then you're actually trying to take people who are coming to my methodology. So following and connections does not necessarily equal revenue. Big crowd is important, but a big crowd of the right people. So if you think, if I have 100 people who are exact target audience and start to resonate with the message, I'll convert more of them than having 10,000 anybody's. Now, of course, we want 10,000 of the right people. So the crowd is how many people have I got following me, and are they the right people? So to make 10 to 20 grand a month, you don't actually need thousands. You probably need a couple of hundred people. 500 would be a good number, but 500 of the right people. I spoke to somebody yesterday, really good following, really getting lots of traction on the content, but they wanted more return on investment. And we looked through the network. There was about 30% of the network that needed to be replaced, and we need to bring that network alive. So the first bit is the crowd. Yeah. Have I got that target audience connected, following? Or Facebook and LinkedIn are the easiest ones to do this on, by the way. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok are much tougher because you aren't in control of who sees your content as much as you are on Facebook and LinkedIn, and then it's limited. So crowd is how many people you can get connected to, right? Who are the right people. Then we've got connected, and they're the people who are actually engaging with you. That's your engaged audience, your connected audience. I know that's a bit confusing for LinkedIn, but the crowd is your connections on LinkedIn. The connected are actually the people who are engaging with you, the people who are showing up and paying attention to you, and you want to value them and appreciate them because they are a good audience for you. So when I do a webinar, it's the people who show up. When I do other stuff, or like my posts and comment on my posts, which again, my posts and everything is coming from my message. Yeah. Then I have the core. So these are like what you call your, to use religious reference, these are like your disciples, your devotees, your fans almost. They show up on a regular basis. And these people both become customers, but they also help you with distribution and reach. And they lend credibility because they share and refer. So then you've got your core, and then you've got your clients. And what you do with a system is you have a process to take each one. So how do I grow my crowd? Number one. How do I grow my connected? Number two. Number three, how do I grow my core? And number five, how do I grow my clients? Now, if you do the first few, the last one becomes much easier. Why? Because during that process, they've got to know you, like we're getting to know each other through the lives. They've got to know you. They either at this point either like you or they don't, because they'll check out if they don't like you. Yeah. And all of the trust piece is being built over a period. Why? Because if I've been showing up consistently, I'll tell you the cynical version for a minute first. The more I say something, excuse me, the more I say something, the more people remember. So if I consistently say the same things or similar things over and over again, different angles, different perspective, but if I'm saying the same thing, fundamentally people land the message. This is what Dean does. Human beings, the more they hear something, the more they believe, the more they instill trust. The less you sell and try and pitch, the more they trust. So I'm building a ton of trust, a ton of credibility, even though some people, remember the system, the people I talked about earlier, some people will kill that system before it's ever had any effect because they're so eager for the result that actually their actions are preventing them getting the result. They're so eager, so keen to get the result that actually they're forgetting it's not about them. It's about the people they want to help. So they forget the cause and focus on the result. Now, I'm not saying you abandon the cause, abandon the result, because that's foolish. But actually, when you start to pursue money, and we know this in life, but sometimes we forget it, it's good to have metrics you can measure. And I'm all for that, and measuring return and all that stuff. But sometimes what happens, and Mark Ritson, if you want to find Mark Ritson on LinkedIn, he's a brilliant guy, professor of marketing at University in Victoria, Australia. He's a brilliant guy. And he did a talk a few years ago, and I absolutely buy into it. if you think short term about marketing, which is essentially what we're talking about, if you think short term, you will always be operating one step in front of yourself. And all the stats have come out. There's a really important report by Peter Fielding and Les Binnett called The Long and Short of It. And in that report, they analyzed a ton of marketing, billions of dollars worth of marketing. And what they found was the companies that focused on short-term returns had this constant up and down, but it never really grew to the levels. The companies where they saw massive growth and real return on investment were the people who focused a little bit further out. And by a little bit further out, we're talking about 3 to 6 months down the line. Why? Because then you're making believers, you're making fans, you're making people who trust you, rather than trying to sell a product where basically all the trust has to come afterwards. Callum, yeah, nice to meet you. I don't think I've seen you on these before. So yeah, nice to see you. So if you want to make 10 to 20 grand, you absolutely need an offer for your customers, which is not just, this is the product, this is the service. It's wrapped up with personality, with goals, with frustrations. It's a whole package of things that position that service. You've then got the audience of who that's going for. You don't have to niche down, but you do need to really focus on who has the most struggles, the biggest challenges with the things I'm going to help them with. So don't go for people who are mildly have the challenge. Find the people who have the real challenges, the real frustrations, the people who are at the wit's end. Where is that audience? List it out. Then the message to the world, which builds on the audience and builds on the offer. And that becomes your evangelistic message, the thing you go on horseback preaching to the world, or go on social media preaching to the world, not telling people you need to buy my offer, but making a case for your cause. And your cause is you don't have to struggle to make sales on social media. You don't have to do this. That's my cause. Yeah. And then you have the system to take them through that process, crowd to client. And that's the process. If you don't want to do as little selling as possible, that's it. Now, of course, I can go in way more detail. And I do, I've got a free stuff every Tuesday night. I do free training every Tuesday night. So you can go to the Maverick page and you can sign up for them every Tuesday. And people, some people ask me, Dean, do you not worry that you overshare? Yeah, because I know a lot of people stress and worry about this. Do you overshare? Gav, I'm here every morning live. Do you not worry about oversharing? No. Tell you why. The people who are going to do it themselves are going to do it themselves. So I can either let them Google it or find it from somebody else, or I can give it to them. I can give them answers. Now, I'm not going to give them the whole caboodle, but I am going to give them pointers that are going to add value. Those people who are my freebie crowd, yeah, they are brilliant, because what they do is they amplify your message, because they share, they like, they comment, they do all of that stuff. So the DIYers, as we call them, they want to do it themselves. I can't change that. Cajoling, twisting the arm of DIYers is never a good thing either. So just let them do it. Don't give them the whole show, but actually encourage them to be part of your community, add value at a low level, because they'll amplify your message. Then you've got the triers. These are the people who will try and do it themselves and consistently fail. The vast majority of your business, your clients, will be those people, by the way. People who've tried to do it themselves, tried another way and failed. Yeah. So thinking about your message, you need to think about talking into that too. Then you've got the wild cards, the buyers, and they are people who are hiding away. You don't know, have a clue who they are, and they just sweep in and say, yeah, I want this. Can we have it? We do a call, and it's like, I've never met you before. In fact, it's weird because it feels like they know you better than you know them. You have no idea who they are. But the buyers, here's the thing, the buyers find you because of the DIYers. Those DIYers liking, commenting, sharing, doing all of that stuff, they actually amplify you to get you in front of some of those people. And time again, if you don't want to do the heavy, pushy DM stuff, or you don't want to spend a shit ton of money on ads, oh, I swore then, you have to mobilize that crowd. And here's the silly thing. You don't need tons of them. You really don't need tons of them. I think something on LinkedIn, the stat is to actually get consistent, consistent, you need an energized group of maybe 40, 50 people, and doing a bit of work to energize them. Again, it's part of the process. How can I energize that crowd? Because some of them are going to amplify your message. Some of them are going to try, and some of them are going to buy. So that's the key element to understand. DIYers are actually very, very useful, very, very good for you, even though you might get, niggled and frustrated that they consume a lot of stuff, but don't actually buy anything. And there's ways to monetize them with maybe information products. So you could, we have some things where we do some very low level stuff that helps motivate those people to buy something at 10 quid and all that kind of stuff, books and stuff like that. Anyway, hopefully that was helpful and interesting. I didn't put you to sleep because I know it's early. But yeah, just to say, I really appreciate everybody who comes on these, by the way. I really appreciate it. If you, if you comment and chat, it's nice to know some of my network. It's really tricky keeping up with DMs, because there's, all of crap stuff that comes through as well as genuine stuff. So it's really tricky. But thank you so much for joining me this morning. Go have an awesome day. Go make some stuff happen. If you're guilty of buying shit tons of courses, why not try implementing one? Stick with one. Yeah. Look, I'm telling you not to buy something from me. Go. You've already bought a course. Go. I am a course addict. Admit it to yourself. Go, right. I'm going to pick one and I'm going to go make it work. I'm going to make one happen. And get a return on your investment from sinking all that money in different things, and start to get a return on it. But it won't work first time. I know that's an uncomfortable message, but when you build it the first time, it's going to be full of problems and full of holes. But that's why consistently applying to it, implement it, tweak it, implement it, tweak it, implement it, tweak it, you actually get a result. So I'm going to shut up now. The sun has been replaced by clouds. Thank you so much for joining me this morning. If we're not connected, wherever you're watching, Facebook, wherever, LinkedIn, do send me a follow, subscribe, blah, 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 all that stuff. And, if you, one final thing, right? I really want to know your thoughts on this. What have been your struggles with the 10 to 20K mark? Put them in the chat, drop me a DM for two reasons. If I can help you, I will, with giving you some feedback. That's first thing. Number two, it helps me understand where the market is. So you sharing with me your struggles helps me understand the market better. And so as I give you some tips, I'm learning as well. That's right. I love doing some stuff where people just say, tell me what's up and I'll help. So yeah, I want to know your thoughts. Tell me what you think. Tell me what's going on in your world. Tell me in the comments or tell me in the DMs. Don't care where you do it. You might want to do it in the DMs if it's a bit more sensitive. But thank you for joining me this morning, and I'll see you tomorrow, if not before.